So let's hop back over to the portrait image that I have here, and we'll look at a few more options that we have available to us through these neural filters. So one of the big ones is the new portrait features in the neural filters panel. So as you can see, I have my duplicate version that we talked about earlier, because this has been harmonized with its background. So you see there's the original, there's the harmonized version, a little bit flatter, contrast works a little bit better, definitely much more integrated. So let's go under the filter menu once again, neural filters. And this time we're going to look at some basic features to help kind of clean up an overall portrait. So again, it uses this artificial intelligence facial recognition algorithm built in to identify where the face is within the person in the scene. And we have a few options that are available to us here. This one in particular is a really quick and easy option for skin smoothing. So you can see even explains a little bit. Skin smoothing adjusts and removes skin imperfections and acne from portraits, and it does so actually fairly well. So let's just flick this on, and if you zoom in, you'll see. We'll quickly kind of do the before and after, but it'll help you see the difference here. So there's before and there's after. So it softens up a lot of these harsher contrasts within the area that it's detected where the person's face is. So you have the ability to adjust that. If you find it's a little bit too aggressive for the person that you happen to be working on here, you can reduce the amount of blur. That's going to make a little bit more of that texture come back in. Then you have the smoothness overall. That's how it's rounding out. So if you pushed it up a little bit too much, this might make the person's skin a little bit more like a porcelain doll, so you might want to be careful with that. But it does a fairly good job at recognizing the boundaries between elements like would be the eyebrows or the lips or eyes or things like that, where it tends to focus specifically on skin tones there. So this one's working quite well. You can say OK. And once again, it's going to render out another copy of this one. So I can just say this one's skin soften edition. So if you want, rather than stack all of these layers, you can just hide the underlying layers afterwards if you ever need to go back to them, or you could delete them. This is obviously a rendered out version of the latest, greatest layer. So the other options that you might find useful, which are still in beta right now, but let's jump back in, neural filters. You're going to have this smart portrait feature, so you can see it's featured under the beta section here. So it hasn't been completely polished yet, but this is where, just like the harmonization, but you can see it's still working fairly well. Let's flick open the smart portrait feature here. So once again, it's used facial recognition, facial detection to find the face. We have this option where it says auto balance combination. So this is usually on by default, because what it's trying to do is it's trying to mix and match the different options that we have here so that they fit with each other. So first off, let me explain how this function actually works. So what's happening here is it's referencing an online database of millions and millions of photographs, and it's looking at similarities, and it's essentially trying to find images online that would match close to this person's facial structure as well as their expression. And it's able to adjust things like happiness, facial age, hair thickness, eye direction, and it will go and find those images, map them, and paint them into the areas that it chooses based on the position of those areas of the face, like the eyes, nose, mouth, within that document. So let's just see how this works. It's, like I said, it's kind of gimmicky right now, and I've seen it do some kind of interesting things. Let's start with the happiness slider here. So we check this off. We now have the ability to increase or decrease this person's happiness. So let's, he's looking like a pretty happy dude here to begin with. Let's see how happy we can make him. Hopefully it doesn't go into Joker territory here. So this is what we were talking about here before, processing in the cloud. So this means it's actually going about and scanning this online database of images, trying to compile what it feels would be the best position. Yeah, it's pretty happy. So you can see it's not perfect, but it's actually done a fairly good job at blending. There's some little problems here where it's kind of, his mouth is kind of pushed away his mustache a bit. But the interesting thing about this is that it does actually adjust not only just the smile of the mouth, but it's actually pulling up the cheekbones. The eyes are closing up a little bit. So this is why certain options can impact other options. One thing you have to be careful with this, obviously it's, like, again, it's still in beta. It might mess around a little bit here with the edges of your mask. So you may have to come back and polish those up afterwards. But just turn that happiness off. So yeah, that was a big difference between the before and after. Facial age, we have this option where we can make this person older or younger, again, through this neural network of database of images. So if we add it, let's add a lot of facial age to this guy, see what this does. Oh yeah, there you go, gray hair, a little bit of gray in the old mustache, some wrinkles around the eyes. So you can see it's rough. They're getting there. It's probably in the next couple of versions of this you'll see it even better. Let's go in the opposite direction, see how that's looking. Yeah, taking a few years off of them. So there's a few other ones if you want to go in and play around with these. They all work fairly similarly. Eye direction. So this is if the person was not looking exactly where you wanted them to look within the composition of the portrait. You could slide this over. It's going to go swap these eyes out for another set of eyes that it feels might match better. You can see there, sure enough, it's moved the position of the eyes over to the right slightly, a little bit up. Let's see the left direction here. Oh yeah, so he's no longer looking at the camera. You've lost a little bit of those catch lights that were in there, but overall it's not too bad, actually. Global. This one's kind of interesting. We have this thing called light direction. So this could also help with your integration of a composite, sort of like we've done here. We've taken the subject out of the original background, put them on a different background. But what if that different background, the lighting didn't match quite perfectly with the direction of the light on the subject? And it's kind of the case here, where we have a little bit more top and to the left for the background light, and the light on the subject is a little bit top and to the right. So we have this option here, which again, it's still in beta. So let's see what this is going to process here. So this is where we can shift that light direction. So as you see, this side of his face is in shadow. This side has more light on it. We can try to move that direction a little bit. Let's see, an extreme amount. It's not bad, actually. You can see it's applied sort of an artificial shadow on this side, pulled up a little bit more light over here. Let's see the before and after. So there's the before and after. Not actually too bad at all. So you could work with that in addition to any of these other options. The head direction one I find is not quite there yet. This is the one where it allows you to physically move the subject's head within 3 dimensions. But once again, in a 2-dimensional medium, you're going to get some weird stuff happening like that. But it's, yeah, there's some weird stuff there. Let's get rid of that one. Anyway, we have some other things for settings. This is where you can adjust your mask. This is that mask contour. And the level of retaining unique details of the subject. Obviously, you want to make the person look like them after you've applied this, so it will maintain as much as this tolerance slider will allow. As soon as you hit OK, we're going to come back. It's going to render it out once again as a separate layer, and we can compare before and after in this scene. And you can see it's actually quite significantly shifted the direction of that light there on the face.